Afternoon. Thank you very much for picking this session this afternoon to be here. My name is Carlos Picotto. I lead the engineering team that's called Windows Servicing and Delivery. We are responsible for producing and delivery to the world the Patch Tuesdays that you know and love. Because we know that you miss it kind of somewhere in the middle, we also produce additional updates between the Patch Tuesdays so that you have something to do there. So this talk today, it's about how, I think when we submitted the title was just keeping 600 million devices protected and productive, but we're just one of these fast-growing operations, and so every time that we revisit the title, we had to add 100 million. So if you come next month, you know what you'll see. So besides many things that we do with our distributed team between Redmond, Canada, Nigeria, Ireland, and India, besides producing just the updates, we also run this operation of really keeping all these people protected. And I recognize some of the faces in the room that I've interacted as being our customers and kind of large enterprises. And today I'm going to give you a perspective of not necessarily from the large enterprise, but a slightly different approach. So let me share with you the story of an early adopter of Windows 10 and this Windows as a service. So this group of people that were kind of considering adopting Windows 10 really early in the process, we're looking at large set of heterogeneous devices, all the way from whatever you would call the oldest Windows 7 device, Windows 8 device, a mix of 32-bit, 64-bit. Let's even say it, some of them were still running XP. I'm sure no one here in the room is running XP anymore. And on top of that, this early adopter was looking also at a large set of applications installed on all these machines. And in fact, he had the suspicion that he could see, I don't know, thousands or millions of these applications. There were many more that existed there that he was not able to even gather any telemetry to know what to do. On top of that, we're not talking about a distribution of devices and applications on a single building, on a single office. We're talking about the global footprint and what it means to go and adopt a new version of Windows at a large scale with devices across 5 continents and all the bandwidth limitations that come into play when you go to this larger footprint. And you know what? Kind of the users, I don't know if you've ever sat in the plane to one of those users that is using kind of Windows 7, old laptop, when everyone else is kind of watching videos on a newer device. And so this was a group of people that really wanted to have increased relevance in terms of the devices that were being provided to their users. And so they decided to jump in early on, as early as July of 2015, when there was the first version of Windows as a service. And so they did. They jumped on Windows as a service. What was the result? Well, this early adopter witnessed one of the fastest OS upgrade velocities in history of this company, which is quite impressive. And he also witnessed that despite all the concerns that he had, he was able to achieve about 99.8 of app compat. Now, you'd say that he didn't got everything right at the first try, and this was a continuous process improvement as he went through the process. But this was a great story for an early adopter. Now, that said, this early adopter also had a very large engineering team that could help him go and work on the process. Now, you probably have guessed it by now that we're really talking about how Microsoft basically managed this large population of devices across the continent. And today, we continue to be the IT administrator to many of your family computing devices, and not only your families. There's many small and medium businesses that completely depend on the way that we update these devices out there in the field. They don't have IT people, and they basically rely on whatever update policies we're doing. So through this session, I will share with you kind of some of the tools that we use internally throughout this journey. And I will then share with you the fact that many of these tools have been converted into commercial tools that many of you can use today. Now, when I think about updating these hundreds of million devices, I share the same concerns that you do. In fact, I was there with you on the days of WannaCry, Petya, non-Petya, and all these updates that were taking some of your devices victims of ransomware. It is unfortunate that kind of the vulnerabilities were fixed a couple of months before for Eternal Blue and some of the others, but many of the companies didn't have a chance to have kind of a quick update policy in place that would prevent the widespread of some of those wormable vulnerabilities. Now, we also know that when we are releasing these updates at a fast pace, we really can't break the user applications. That would be a major source of unhappiness throughout the world. And many of them do have my direct contact and my phone number, which I'll give you at the end. And so here we are, kind of trying to keep user productivity. And again, it's not just about delivering the update and keeping them secure. We would like to deliver the update at the time that they are not using their computers. This used to be easy when you had this desktop always connected to power, you know. But today, I'm sure you share the same challenge that I do, which kind of people use these laptops. They put it on the bags, and when they're in the bag at night, they're not charging. And so trying to update at that time is kind of complicated. And last but not the least, kind of we're talking about major updates that we want to go and distribute throughout the world. We really need to be prepared. And so the same way that many of you operate distribution points through SCCM or other solution that you're using, at Microsoft, we operate a content delivery network, and we push our updates throughout the world, through all the 5 continents, to make sure that when it comes that time of Patch Tuesday, you're ready to download from the closest endpoint to you. But it doesn't stop there, because you'll have large offices, you have small branches, so I'll tell a little bit more about some of the innovations that we have built for you. So this is what we called the Microsoft Managed, or internally sometimes we mention the Microsoft Update Managed. Let me give you a quick overview, kind of Microsoft or Windows Update by the numbers. So we have about more than 900 million devices that show up at our door that scan one way or another. Kind of every month, some 9 million new devices show up. Kind of how about that for deployment? That's pretty good. We have by now delivered more than 2.5 billion feature updates. Feature updates is this when you move from one branch to another, what we call the semi-annual release that we do every 6 months. And basically throughout this population, that's kind of the volume that we did. Every Patch Tuesday, kind of what we get ready for you at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, every second Tuesday of the month, like a clock. We've delivered more than 28.3 billion of those security updates on the Windows 10 population. This last number is kind of interesting. I used to think that this was impressive because this was like how much we used of the overall content delivery network. And I thought kind of 17 terabits was an impressive number. Unfortunately, it's less than half of what a large game for one of our consoles takes on the content delivery network, but it's still kind of an impressive number just for delivering updates. And just think about it, the time that I took here to tell you about this, about 300 devices per second we're updating. That's our reality. Now, are the old devices the same? Not really, you know. There's about 36 million applications that we are aware. And by the way, they are not all at the latest version. So the same application could be deployed on multiple versions out there on these devices, giving something like 170 million combinations. The same is true about hardware. I know about this 1.5 or more now unique hardware kind of either silicon or devices that exist, but they will show up on all different types of laptops or desktops out there in the world. So when I'm about to send an update out, I need to take this all into consideration. So that's how we got to where we are. But is anyone here still kind of running Windows 7 somewhere? Okay, see me after the break. I have a special discount for you. Yeah, an XP. Okay, that's awesome. You have to stay longer then. So for everyone else, you probably don't remember kind of those old days of kind of Windows 7 updates. But if you ever want to remember that, kind of try to figure out a Chinese disk or get the ISO somewhere and kind of try to connect that device to the internet and say, update yourself. And probably you're getting set for about 2-3 days of hundreds and hundreds of updates that will come, because this was the reality before we initiated our journey on the cumulative updates of Windows 10. So there would be this fragmentation of every time that we would update certain components of Windows, they would go out, sometimes the same binary in 3 updates at the same time on that Patch Tuesday. And then many of you would look at all these updates that we were producing, and you would make decisions on top of that. I'll pick this one. I'll pick that one, just based on the title that we would put. So if we had creative titles, like scary titles, you'd say, oh, I'm going to take this one. If we were not that good on scary title, then you decide, I'm not going to take this one. Well, that generated an ecosystem fragmentation that you couldn't believe, because in the end, everyone was running a slightly different variation of the operating system. Instead of being just everyone on the same kind of latest update, everyone was on a slightly different combination. And then some of you really would like to call us and say, I need a hot fix. Anyone remembers hot fixes? They were bad. Because hot fix would come from something called the limit distribution release branch, not from the general distribution release branch. And if you ever installed a hotfix, that Windows component would be forever in hotfix management approach. So that would increase even further the combination of the devices that you would be running. And so when you'd say that you would install an application from a certain independent software vendor, probably that software vendor didn't really know what combination of Windows 7 and patches you were running, because you had your own personalized edition of Windows 7. Congratulations. I can give you a sticker if you want. So that was quite a journey, and that's something that when we transitioned to Windows 10, we made a deliberate decision to basically move in synchronous with all the updates. And again, I probably have been in some meetings with some of you where you blame me for that fact. That is true. But years later, I think most people are thankful with the notion that there's just one update every month that you have to take in order to make the Windows 10 kind of software components from the operating system to the same level. It's not true across all the device drivers and many other things, but we made a deliberate effort. So on this first year, I'm going to call it, what did we do as early adopters? So we were mainly focused, and again, this is the year is around 2015. We released the first version of Windows 10 in July of 2015. But we had taken the whole year of kind of 2014 at the beginning of 2015 to prepare ourselves for that. And so what did we do? What were we doing to make sure that this works? Well, we had made a decision that for most of our consumers in general, Windows 10 would be a free upgrade. And in order to make sure that this free upgrade would work, we really needed to focus a lot of our energy on validating that if you were upgrading the Windows 7 to Windows 10 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, that this would be a good experience. Our first big test, and I don't know how much you remember, was really moving customers from Windows 8.0 to 8.1 or 8.1 Spring 14. The one that brought that, what is that called? The start menu? BRK, yeah, that one. So it was going along the same time that we're validating a lot of the same technology to the Windows 10 upgrade. And so we're putting together this ring validation. We're looking at hardware overall, kind of this very heterogeneous ecosystem. We would invite family and friends to come to upgrade parties. At least we call them parties. I don't know that our friends and family thought about it that way. It was fun, right, Sudha? And so we would be there. We would bring our kids' computers and kind of engage on upgrading this. And the good news is kind of if something failed, there would be Microsoft engineers all around you that could help you understand what happened and eventually just take the computer from you, which for a child can be traumatic. But we put a lot of energy making sure that not only the in-place upgrade from 7 to 10 was going to be effective, but also that if you decided by any reason that this is not what you wanted, even though it was free, you could easily roll back. So this notion of in-place upgrade and easy rollback is something that has been with us from the beginning. We continued stress testing the whole process before we released, and then one day, kind of in a midnight of some summer night in July 15, we all went into a room, we changed something on our online services and said from now on, our free upgrade has started, and we sat watching some screens that were telling us how many devices were upgrading at the time. And it was fun, but slow. Especially that first night was very slow. So here's a little bit of kind of what happened on that first year. I think when you look back and you say, well, it was definitely quite successful. It was a large number of devices that were upgraded throughout the year. You see a mix there. In the beginning was mainly just us upgrading existing devices. And to be quite honest, we upgraded many more than the ones that show up there as upgraded, because many of our customers, either for one reason or another, they decided to roll back and still stay on Windows 7. And so overall, we had a larger number of upgrades, but those were the ones that stayed. I'm always jealous of that non-PCs, because these are my Xbox colleagues that when they started upgrading, they are really fast. And they had basically this hardware configuration that was very good to update. And then, of course, throughout that period, new devices started showing up also and adding to it. Now, if you go and read the news, and I don't know how many of you were trying to upgrade Windows 10 in 2015. How many? Some? Okay. You might have seen that great error message. Anyone remembers? Something happened, something happened. We still have T-shirts of it. We were clearly at our highest moment of sharing with our customers what was going on. And to be honest, that was really how much we knew about it. Something happened. Now, this was followed with what I would call the growth years. You know, we become a little bit smarter about it. In the beginning, we told the world, oh, we're going to have a new release of Windows, I think 3 times a year. We then realized it's kind of, we don't know how to really do this 3 times a year. We moved into 2 times a year. And so 1607, which probably had a great marketing name that I don't remember right now, was the first long-term release that would include both the client and the server. And all the way to 1803, this has been what we call the time where we're managing growth. And it's both the growth of the operating system and the growth of our installed base. Because the truth is, as we get it more and more complex, we had to build many internal tools to make sure that we could help you all also upgrade your devices at the same rate. Because now we were getting at least 2 releases every year. And it was not just about moving you from Windows 7 to Windows 10. It's about moving you from previous version of Windows 10 to next version of Windows 10. So I would have meetings with many that would tell me, no, I have to skip 1 per year. I can't really do 2. And so we invested a lot on analytics tool to make sure that we could do it faster. And we built these tools to basically move you forward and help you with that process. Now, it's also when we learn about this term that we call update resistance. I mean, when I look at the data internally, I still see many devices that are sitting in Windows 7 RTM, not even 7 SP1. And so at any time, kind of on your installed base, there will be these devices that for one reason or another are just set in the past. And so we developed mechanisms to really help with these update-resistant devices. So what happened after we did all of this? We continued to grow quite fast. In fact, if you're looking about what was that inflection point there on the dark blue, that is the end of the free upgrade campaign. And basically, we transitioned. I mean, I really liked that slope going up there before. We all did. But then it came to an end, they say. And so what we saw there is now we're working with our new kind of devices coming into the market. The original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, are building some really cool new devices, and we are helping them bringing to the market, and again, very fast growth. Now, by this time, we also got smarter about how we roll out new versions of Windows. And so rather than kind of, hey, here we are, RTM, GA, please come and get it, we are now much more organized by this time about how we select the different populations in order to take the updates. And so we form a pilot audience in some area of the world. We go and learn from the systems that were there. And this was kind of what we're doing back in 2016, 2017. I will take you to the journey and kind of share with you what we do these days. But it was quite fantastic. And if anything goes wrong, usually we close the release and we just shoot for Antarctica. And fortunately, no one is in Antarctica, so it's all fine. Sorry, that researcher. Here's an example of how our tools looked back in 2015. I took this screenshot for some presentation that I had with some customer. This is what we call internally mission control. And this is the time where we had both Windows 10 version 1507 in the market, build 10.240, that was released with minor version 16384, which is really 0 if it wasn't for that damn bit. We solved that bit problem afterwards, and now we do start at 0. But on the left, you see this is what we have in the market. On the right, this is what we'd have in the Insider program. This is kind of, we were having tremendous fun with the Windows Insider program at the time. Everyone was helping us. Some enthusiastic Insider fans that you can follow on Twitter also. The point is, you probably recognize some of these screens because this is what you get also on Windows Analytics or Desktop Analytics. So a lot of the tools that we have built internally to manage the rollout and our own large populations is what we evolved then to give origin to many of the analytics tools that we have produced. And kind of taking you through the journey of analytics. I mean, all the way back in 2015, we just have this diagnostic data and telemetry and all of that. We built this upgrade analytics that then kind of we added additional tools like compliance that was quite critical. And we believe that we helped customers move faster between the different branches of Windows 10 if they were using these different analytics experiences. And so just recent, we have, in fact, finally made it GA available for desktop analytics. Now, that said, we don't stop there, and we continue to build new tools. And in fact, I'd like to invite my colleague Raji to tell us a little bit more about some of the tools that we're working on right now.
Thank you, Carlos. Hello, everyone. Microsoft's analytics journey has centered on two things: what data is telling us and what customers, such as yourself, are telling us. We're constantly listening to customers like you and making improvements on what we are hearing from you. We're also looking at programs that you use and the data that we are getting from those programs, such as Desktop App Assure. How many of you here know about Desktop App Assure? Yay. So this is data from Desktop App Assure. When we look at the data here, what we see is that 491,000 applications that we looked into did not have any app compat issues. And only 928 of applications had some issues. So that's 99.8% of applications with no app compat issues whatsoever. It's very high compat. But still, we realize that that tiny sliver that you see there in the pie chart, that tiny sliver of applications, 0.019%, they may have some business-critical applications for you, and you want peace of mind. You want peace of mind that as you update your enterprise, these apps are going to work. And you want your ISVs to help you get that peace of mind. You want your ISVs to give you support statements. Well, we're going to help your ISVs. We're going to help your ISVs give you those support statements more easily, more quickly, and more seamlessly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited to stand here before you today and announce the availability of a brand new service on Microsoft Azure that my team worked on called the Update Staging Lab. Update Staging Lab is a new service on Microsoft Azure that your ISVs can use to get access to pre-release Windows updates. Your ISVs onboard their applications into an environment that we, Microsoft, keep up to date and maintained. As soon as we hit code complete on our upcoming Windows update release, we update the VMs in this environment with our latest and greatest payload. We kick off a test pass against your ISV's onboarded applications. Once testing is complete, we give your ISVs not just the test results on the applications, but we also give them a lot of rich, data-driven insights on how their applications are doing against the upcoming release. Your ISVs, if we find an issue, we use the power of data and cloud to quickly root cause the issue and work closely with your ISVs to remediate these app failures. This way, your ISVs have a joint debugging environment with Microsoft, and they can quickly address your app issues. And you, as an enterprise, your app issues are addressed quickly, and you have confidence on day 0 of Windows Update release that all your applications are going to work. And your ISVs are at a much better position to give you those support statements. How cool is that? So cool. So there's a lot of richness and goodness in this service. How do you onboard? There is a URL on this slide here, aka.ms/join-USL. Actually, it's aka.ms/update-staging-lab. If you are an ISV, please go to this URL to sign up. If you are an IT professional for an enterprise, please nominate your ISVs, encourage them to sign up. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. My colleague Rahul Gupta has a theater session later tomorrow, THR, or it's BRK2025. Please attend the theater session. He's going to go over a demo. He's going to go over all the details, all the benefits, all the inner workings of the service, so you'll get all the details. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Raji. So I'm really looking forward for many of you to try out this update staging lab that our team back in Redmond and Nigeria have been working on. So this is one investment that we're doing to make sure that you're able to adopt our updates even faster. Because one of the challenges that I have many times when I look at the dashboards of data is how fast can our customers, and the ones that I manage directly, adopt some of these updates. And sometimes they are, in a way, challenged by both bandwidth and support costs. Let me address both separately. So from the beginning of the different iterations of Windows 10 that we've released, a constant feedback that we used to receive is like, oh my gosh, these cumulative updates, that's a good idea, but these are really so big. And when I'm delivering them through the Microsoft Cloud and the Content Delivery Network, I'm always using this notion of express delivery, where basically all the devices are scanning and only receiving the relevant bits for them. More, in Windows 10, there's this feature called delivery optimization, which is built in. And then if the customers and enterprises are also able to take advantage of this, many times rather than downloading it from the Content Delivery Network, they will be able to just obtain the same portions of the express delivery from peer devices that will be on the same network. And this is, again, an area that we continue to evolve so that the enterprise can take advantage. So make sure that you'll see a list of the sessions afterward, but both Andy and Narkis that are sitting here in the front have a session on something that had a really cool name, and now it's called Microsoft Connected Cache instead of the other cool name that you should ask them. So that's one of the challenges that we have been really hard at work to make sure that we accelerate the delivery. The other one is about support costs. So every week I sit in a meeting room where kind of my colleagues from Microsoft support tell me about the incident support rate across all the 4 major regions, and then we make decisions about, can we go faster on the rollout? We have to go slower on the rollout based on whatever they're doing. And so I'm happy to report that every time that we meet with them, clearly we have witnessed a tremendous improvement on what they call the incidents per million devices that are out there, meaning that newer versions of Windows 10 are definitely originating a much smaller number of incidents. Now, we could be here and kind of just celebrating this, but I think, like you, I also read social media and the feedback. And usually the feedback doesn't come from all these people that have had these great experiences, right? And so something that we're doing constantly as we release something is monitoring what is going on out there. And usually because we release kind of 10 a.m. In Redmond, typically as we follow the sun rotation, kind of by the evening in Asia, we're probably getting some feedback about what's going on. And so it's important to reassert that we absolutely are listening to feedback and we are focusing on the customer experience. In fact, let me be a little more specific. When I'm talking about Microsoft Update Managed, I'm talking about 3 guiding principles on how we manage the systems that are out there. One is we want to optimize for customer satisfaction in the sense that I know that at any point in time, I have multiple releases of Windows that are out there in support. I'm just talking about Windows 10, right? We have about, right now, 1809, 1903, and we're about to release 1909, which I really can't wait for all of you to experience 1909 and that upgrade experience. But we do want to maximize if a user is already on a certain release of Windows, we want to optimize for the fact that it's okay. You can stay there for as long as you want, but you need to be there while the operating system is supported. It's tremendously risky to leave customers on unsupported versions of the OS. And so what does it mean to be on a supported version? It means that you need to be on the latest cumulative update that I release on every Patch Tuesday. And so I have these two big challenges with the overall population. When is a good time to install this update? And how fast can I reach the population? And so this is a place, and if you've seen kind of this Ignite theme, Microsoft AI is everywhere. It came to updates also. And let me show you kind of two areas where we're using AI. Number one, finding the right time to take your system down for an update. This is not well known, but 93% of our customers do not see any kind of user experience that the device is updating. Because we have now found kind of a combination of the right timing to do that update, and basically what users will see is they come back into a system and the system has updated. Now, this is if you're a Microsoft Update managed device, connect directly to the cloud, and you didn't went and interfere with some group policy to change what it is. That's the default. So 93% basically just got silent updated on these quality updates. More than that, if you look at the chart, it says that after 7 days of us releasing the Patch Tuesday, about 80% of the devices have been patched. If you contrast that with some of our customers that take the first 7 days to evaluate if they should install the patch or not, you would know that some customers probably will have more exposure on those first 7 days. Our next kind of big metric is our 20-day. After 20 days, we have north of 93% of the devices that have been patched. And so this notion of using AI to understand when is the right timing to go and update these devices. As I mentioned, now this mix of laptops that are never really attached to the power, when it's the good time to update, introduce some complexity. So that's one case about where we're using AI. The second case where we're using AI is on the rollout of a new release of Windows. And so let me take you just to a quick chart of that. So let's say that we're about to release this new version called Windows 10 1909. We're going to look at the overall population of Windows 10 devices, and based, again, on the great value of the insider population and all the data that we have collected, we'll establish the first group of devices that we believe are going to have a great update experience moving forward for the next one, and we do our first model. We then go, instead of going per region or per set of devices, we go and identify the set of devices based on the characteristics, on hardware combinations that I mentioned before, or some of the software combinations that I've mentioned before. And we're going to target first these devices that we believe are going to have a great update experience. Now, we estimated that they were going to have a great update experience. But unfortunately, and it has happened to us multiple times, at the same time that we're releasing a new version of Windows, some of the ecosystem partners are also releasing new versions of their own software. It has happened during kind of a large update motion that we're having, that one of our antivirus partners were also launching a new version of the antivirus, and our system was able to detect that at the same time and basically avoid some of those systems from being targeted during the update. So it's important to realize that these days, when we're going and updating these devices, we don't make a decision about, let's go and update everyone at the same time. We know the problems that we'll encounter. We avoid the problematic devices, and we target only the good devices until we fix the problems, and then we go and retarget those other devices. So overall, when you look today at our kind of AI update approach, you'll see that it's leveraging ML, and this is something that if you really want to know more, because we're bringing some of this technology also into commercial tools, this is something that you definitely don't want to miss this session, BRK2081. In summary, something that I feel that I hope you take away today. Oh, sorry. Optimizing for cameras up. Okay, cameras down. Some of the takeaways from today. the time for you to think about the move from Windows 7 to Windows 10, if you're still there, I can help you. But more importantly, I expect that many of you are now in your large Windows 10 deployments. And what you really need to have is this muscle on how to move forward at a regular cadence, how to leverage the tools that we have built to make sure that you move forward at a regular cadence. If you feel that you're not able to deploy the patches and the new releases fast enough because you don't know how your applications will behave, do come and use our update staging lab for that so that you can gain higher confidence. If you don't know about how your installed base has some issues or not, you should use desktop analytics integrated into our management tools to go and learn more about your own installed base. But it's super important that you build the muscle on how to move forward, because this is the only way to keep you protected. And I mean, if you have access to my inbox, you will know about all the new vulnerabilities that I will be fixing on the next Patch Tuesday, and the one after, and the one after. We have also adopted a new approach of transparency, which is not fully understood yet. But for anything that we are aware with any of our systems, we published and acknowledge that we have issues. So we have a communications team that basically is looking at the input from our support centers, from customers like you, from social media, and is working around the clock to make sure that Microsoft officially acknowledges, both on Twitter and on our own page, any issue that we are aware and we're working on. I believe that this transparency is helping our customers, and we'll continue to do that. But more importantly, in the end, everything that we're doing is data-driven. We have built the systems to analyze the data from our deployments, and we make decisions that are based on that data that we have acquired. We have made a great investment this year on bringing many engineers back from Redmond to be here. And these are some of the critical sessions that I really hope that you are able to attend. You will notice that as you take the picture, your camera app might also recognize the QR code and do a link to a website. It's by design. It's not a virus, although you should be suspicious. Could be a phishing attack. But again, don't miss many of these great sessions, both on the deployment and servicing. If you still have Windows 7, I think Michael is having a session on ESU, just for the 4 people in the back there. For XP, sorry, we don't have programs anymore. But name your price, and I can figure out something. We have great sessions also on the delivery optimization, or the new name of Microsoft Cache. And I really invite you all to go and meet. These are the group of people that work with us every week to build the products and build the tools that you're using. So do take up on the opportunity to meet with them. So these are sessions that you can go there and listen about what we're doing. We also have interactive sessions that I'd like to see you there, where we'd like to hear from you and kind of share with us your experience so that we can improve and basically do better for next year. And this is the last slide before, okay, I'll wait for cameras. And this is the last slide before I remind you all, please evaluate the session. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you.